Welcome to this brief video. And I say brief only because it's probably going to be a lot shorter than the hour and a half of the athletic nutrition video. I'm going to try really hard to keep it under 15 minutes. So, wanted to give you an opportunity to learn a little bit more exactly about the programming that's going to be for this summer for high school summer weights, in that it's an effort to really kind of create a foundation of solid athletic development and strength during June and July. So, what exactly does summer weights mean? Then, when we talk about our students that are currently, they're going to be in high school in the fall. So, those incoming freshmen through seniors. Okay, so Husky Strength, our strength and conditioning program, we are rooted in the belief that the foundational movement, mechanics, discipline, and education are absolutely critical for athletic development and lifelong health. I do spend quite a bit of time telling the students why certain things are maybe going to be done a new way than what maybe they've been done previously or what they've been taught previously. This area of strength and conditioning is constantly changing. There's new information that not only comes out about the human body, there's new things that we learn about how to program, and it is just constantly evolving. And, there are benefits to doing things maybe one way over another. And it really just kind of is constantly being updated and modified when we start learning more about human mechanics. So it's really important for the kids to understand, hey, maybe this is the way you were squatting before, but we're going to move towards this direction and making your squat look more this way because you're going to get greater value out of that lift because of the more muscles that are engaged, whatever, for a variety of different reasons, just as an example. Okay. So it's not only for athletic development, but it's also for lifelong health. I know that I cannot avoid every injury that's going to happen to any of our athletes. We're going to have contact injuries. We're going to have things that just are flukes that happen maybe during sport or during practice. But it is a goal of mine to avoid all non-contact injuries. I want for the kids to be able to change direction and stop, and girls already are at, I think it's a 30% increased risk of ACL issues just because of the way our hips are compared to our knees. I just want to build a program that is developing our athletes to stay as injury free as possible, knowing that it can't 100% be avoided, but building that foundation, because that way they can be strong athletes, they can participate as much as they want to, and also it's for lifelong health. I mean, an injury can be something that you're dealing with for the rest of your life. I dislocated my elbow going into my sophomore year of high school in the summer, and I mean, I have dealt with issues around my elbow from that dislocation for the past 30 years then. So, it is something that can stay with you forever. So the more that we can avoid that, the better they will be. Emphasize quality over quantity. I am a stickler for this. I'm really super intense in the weight room, and I'm intense because I really believe that the way we move matters and the quality of movement absolutely matters. And we have to do every rep counts. The way we move through warm-ups, the way we move that we choose when we're doing drills, the way we go through things, paying attention to me, all we're doing is developing our body to move in a certain way. And the higher quality movements, the better they're going to be. So emphasize quality over quantity and ensuring that every athlete learns the proper technique so that they can progress safely through different exercises and different progressions. And a little bit later, I'm going to kind of revisit the fact that, say, everyone's squat looks different. So it's how do we make sure that that child's specific squat pattern is as optimal as possible, but is safe for their bone structure, for example. So beyond all the physical training, this program is going to be designed that we want for them to really be able to dig deep. Strength training is not easy. The weight room actually never gets easy. If the weight room gets easy, you are not trying hard enough. You are not putting enough stress on your body to create an adaptation for it to change. The weight room should never be easy. If it becomes easy, you're not doing it right. You're not lifting as much as you can. Your body is strong, so push it a little bit. So, it does help to foster some resilience from that way. It helps builds character a little bit. You got to find a way to dig deep sometimes. And it is definitely not a philosophy where you push through those last few reps just because you're supposed to do 10 if your form is breaking down. Absolutely not. The kids know that if their form is starting to break down, they're not getting all the reps in, then they need to stop. But then for the next round, they need to take the weight down a little bit because we want them consistently hitting the rep ranges that they're being programmed to ask to be able to do. It builds teamwork in a different way. Strength training can be very individual. You can have PRs that are you, but you can have a team that cheers you on. So it empowers our students to not only excel for themselves individually, but also on the field with their teammates. The weight room is cross sports. So, it's giving our students an opportunity to maybe engage with some students that they're not particularly seeing a whole lot that specific season, that we truly are striving to create a strength and conditioning team. If you are a part of Husky Strength, that you are in and of itself a team in the weight room. The pyramid that you will continue to see over and over and over again is the foundation of movement quality. I am a stickler for movement quality. And if they're not going to do something right, they're not going to get to load it. So listening is a really important characteristic for the kids to have in the weight room. Because if they choose not to listen, if they're goofing off, they're going to be asked to leave. It is not the time or the place. They need to have focus, and they need to be in a mindset that they're willing to learn and they're willing to listen, and then they're willing to put effort towards doing it in the way that they're being coached. Movement quality trumps everything and is the foundation for it all. So each session, so that when we talk then a little bit about kind of what does the programming look like for these 8 weeks in June and July, it is building the foundation for the school year. It's giving us a chance to get stronger, to develop our kind of muscle size, if you will. And it is a completely comprehensive program. It is not just coming in and doing the weight room and leaving. We are going to make sure that we're warming up correctly for that specific workout. The warm-ups do not look the same every day. The warm-up is tailored based on what movements we're doing that specific day, and so that does change based on the workout. So each warm-up is different, but we are going to focus on mobility, activation, injury prevention, dynamic warm-ups. If we're going to do sprinting, we do some sprint drills to warm up. We're doing stretching, whether it's lower body dynamic warm-up, upper body dynamic warm-up, depending on what exercises are going to be asked to be done in the weight room that specific day. We'll have different training cycles. So we're going to emphasize that technique and making sure that there's that consistent effort in trying to kind of push yourself a little bit within the way the program is written. I do see a tendency that some athletes just think that they kind of want to keep going heavier all the time. Heavy, 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 heavy. Even if it's been programmed for 10 reps, they want to go heavy for 5 and then they're done. I'm like, no, there's a reason why we're going for 10 reps this cycle in this block. We need to focus on the rep ranges because that variability and that variety in your load actually creates different adaptations in your body that all play together as a comprehensive plan. So sessions are going to be adapted to meet the needs of different sports. June, we're really just going to be focusing on general physical preparedness. June is going to be that movement quality foundation, general physical preparedness. We're laying the foundation. In July, we are going to switch gears and we are going to move towards fall sports specific training. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that when I show you what the schedule looks like. That way you can kind of see and understand a little bit more why the time slots kind of shift a little bit in July. Each session will also include, or throughout the week, not every session is going to include all of these, but throughout the week, we're going to focus also on plyometrics, agility, mobility, speed/sprint work, aerobic training, and of course, we're going to do the strength training for strength. But they're all strategically programmed throughout the week. There's different recommendations on how often you should do these different types of activities within a 7-day period. You've got to have off days, times in the middle, things like that. And so when we take a look at it, all of this is included. So if your child comes to summer weights, they do not need to be doing anything on their own outside of that. Yes, we own the Aurora Fitness Center, but they do not need a membership to the Aurora Fitness Center if it's going to work for them to come to summer weights every morning. Pulling 2-a-days is not always great, especially if, say, I don't know about it, because you will hit a point that it is actually you're getting negative benefits from it because you're doing too much if you're not resting enough. So trust the process. Know that I'm looking at it holistically, that I'm getting your child set up correctly, that if they come consistently to summer weights, they are going to be getting everything that they need to better themselves as an athlete. Okay, so key safety principles is I will always emphasize form over intensity. We're going to make sure that they've got that form down before we start increasing the intensity, before we increase the load. They're going to choose appropriate load weights too, based on the way they're moving, the way they're feeling. Sometimes you need to decrease your load because you had a terrible night's sleep. Your body just isn't feeling it. So just learning to listen to our body, adjusting correctly, trying to stick as close to program as possible, which is why we incorporated the velocity-based training boxes. That is giving us an opportunity to take some of those external factors into play, so that the kids are still going to get the adaptation that is programmed for that specific workout. We're going to progress gradually, making sure that they're ready to go. High school weights this semester, we focused a ton on squat form. They did zombie squats for a really long time just to make sure they were getting full ranges of motion. They were sitting down in their pocket. They were redeveloping their glutes and hamstrings, getting activated in the squat. Finally moved to front squat. And this last week was the first week the whole semester that we were giving them the choice that they could load into a back squat. Back squats put pressure on your spine, and unless you have appropriate core strength already developed, that you've learned how to brace a little bit with your breath, it's not always better. So there's lots of different ways to train certain muscles, meeting kids where they're at in their developmental strengths and what they can handle to improve right now without putting them in a risk of injury. Technique, it's controlled, it's deliberate. Learning where your knees need to be with regards to your hips, not just going through the motions and letting your knees duck in, being aware of where things are going. Developing that mind muscle connection is really super important. Understanding what neutral spine alignment is, with all the time we spend on our devices, we are all rolled, shoulders are rolled forward, we're kind of hunched over, and understanding exactly what does that mean if I'm asking you to have a neutral spine. Because when we look at specifically at our squats and our deadlifts, that is a really, really, really super important part of the movement of the exercise. And just observing that correct form, making sure that we're doing that full range of motion. If we see something that's kind of off, making those adjustments. We do know that strength training significantly reduces the risk of injury. And this is the caveat, is when it's done correctly. So we're making sure that the kids are moving correctly before we're loading, because it does have this really super positive impact of not only, making our muscles obviously stronger, but tendons, ligaments, your bones get more dense. There's just lots of great things that happen from incorporating load-bearing exercises into your routine. Here's a great example of why not everyone squats exactly the same. And some of it's just our bone structure. Some of it's hip mobility, some of it's ankle mobility, but it can also just be in your bones. So working with each individual child, making sure that as we are squatting at bare minimum to parallel or just below parallel with your hip crease, that you have to see where your stance is and if your toes need to be flared, and making sure your knees are out. That way they can stay as safely in alignment as possible. Also make sure that also letting you know that progression does not always mean that more weight should go on the bar. This is kind of a mindset shift that we're trying to work through because it is very common, especially with this age group of high schoolers, to just think more is better, heavier is better. No, it absolutely is not. And actually, there's 7 different ways that you can progress an exercise, and that's only one of them. You can add holds, you can change your tempo, you can obviously increase the weight. That's number one. You can increase your range of motion. You can change, you can limit your rest in between. There's a lot of different ways that you can progress a specific exercise, and it doesn't just have to be the straight answer is more weight. We have to take a look at what we're trying to accomplish, and there's specific rep ranges and percentages that are targets to create your body to do that adaptation. And so sticking to the programming is more important than just the standard answer of doing more. It's not always about doing more. Okay, rest. Rest is absolutely part of the program. I know summers are hard. Kids are wanting to stay up. They probably have a little bit more of a flexible schedule. But as you'll see on the next slide, we're starting early. Summer weights is starting early. A lot because I want to have the cool weather to be able to be outside. We do have a lot of kids that do work, so it helps them be able to come get this done in before they go to a job. But honestly, a lot of it is just, it increases our ability to be able to use more of our facilities, and get the kids outside using the track, using the turf, and not just being stuck inside when the weather starts to get pretty hot. So with that being said, depending on their age, it could be 8 to 11 hours that they need. So it's 9 to 11 for your younger kids, and then it's 8 to 10 for, kind of your older ones. And so, if they are wanting to get up and if they are wanting to come to summer weights, it is really important that they get to bed. The answer isn't that they roll out of bed and they're tired and they're going to move slow and then go back home and nap afterwards, because I will tell you, if they are not well rested and if they show up, because now we're doing the velocity based training, their bar speed is going to be slow, which means they're not going to be getting to lift the amount of weight that their body actually probably should be doing if they were well rested. So they're not going to be getting the full benefit out of coming. So keep that in mind. The more you can encourage them to get their rest in so that they're well rested and not short nights, rolling out of bed, coming, and then napping part of the day, they need to do it throughout the night. And it's really super important. Okay. So when we take a look at the schedule, here's kind of our schedule for the summer. So high school boys, except for cross country runners, are going to be there right at 6 a.m. And we are starting at 6 a.m. There's important information that happens right away when we get started. The late rollers in, it's not going to end well. So the way that's going to work is, if you want to be counted as attending that morning to go towards the Iron Husky attendance percentage goals, you have to be there when we start at 6 a.m. If you show up after we start, even if it's 6 a.m. and 30 seconds, because we've already started, you can stay and get the workout done, but the workout does not count towards your attendance for Iron Husky. So it really just kind of depends on what matters most to the child. A lot of them do like to earn that t-shirt. It is something that is worth earning. It shows that you put the work in. And so it's really unfortunate if you just miss it by a few minutes. So, they're going to want to make sure that they're there, because that's kind of how that attendance will work. So that's high school boys, except for cross country. Just in an effort to kind of balance out the sessions. That's how we've done it in the past, and it's actually worked out really well. So we're going to do it again in the future. The white team is starting at 7:10, which is all high school girls plus then the entire cross country team, because that kind of helps balance out that morning session versus that middle session. And then we have middle schools coming in after that. High school is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We will not be offering the makeups on the every other Fridays this year. So these are your opportunities to come and be there and to show up. So that's in June. In July, it is red and white at 7:10. except football. So this will be something then too that you can work out with Coach Peterson, because he's going to do football practice, or like a football team session at 7:05 p.m. every night, because it's going to be a little bit cooler. So if it doesn't work for you to come lift at the 6:00 p.m. session and you want to still come at that 7:10, you are welcome to come do that, but just check in with him, because he's going to want you to come back then that night for the team training, I think. So just have that conversation with him. Otherwise, if it works for you just to come in the evenings, and that's why we have that bump to July, because when we take a look at the sports and we're looking at starting to incorporate in some sports specific training in July, because June was our foundation of our general physical preparedness, our GPP block, working on some hypertrophy, kind of working on our muscle, slight bit of endurance, but just working on some muscle size. Then what we've got in July is taking a look at, okay, the programming needs of a cross-country runner is actually pretty different for them to be successful when the season comes in the fall than it is for somebody who plays football. And so we want to start working towards individual programming by sport. So that's why July looks this way. Volleyball, you've got some different needs than softball. We want to work a lot on like overhead shoulder strength. That way you can try to keep your shoulders healthy. Softball, we're working on a lot of rotational power, things like that for throwing and for batting. Golf, if you ladies want to come hang out with us, some rotational power can also help your golf swing a lot. Just general strength improvements will help you drive the ball even farther. So that's kind of why that looks like that in July, in an effort to kind of start moving in that direction. This year too, we are including post-workout bar or shake. If you've seen my athletic nutrition presentation, you know that I'm a huge fan of kind of the one ingredient / simple ingredient rule. And yes, the most you can stick to that, absolutely possible. For the summer, our challenge is our cafeteria is now open. So this is the plan B, the next best option, because of course, absolutely rather have, say, slices of avocados, maybe some, well, maybe not avocados for this. That'd be better for like lunches or other meals, but eggs, maybe some ham, things like that to recover with. Oatmeal would be absolutely great. Post-workout, bananas are great for post-workout, which maybe that would actually even be something too we could look at having along with the shake. So, but, post-workout nutrition is really super important for recovery. It's kind of part of the workout, so you want to be sure that you're doing that. And so getting our kids in the habit of eating after strength training sessions is key. Registration is now open for about the next week or so, so get your child registered for Summer Weights. I will reiterate again, I am very intense. I do have expectations, mostly because honestly, I know they can do it. A lot of times they'll maybe be choosing not to, and that just doesn't work, right? So we need them to be ready to come focus, to put forth the effort. I understand that not everyone's going to look perfect at everything that I'm asking them to do. Some of us, myself included, is definitely not built to be a runner. I get it. But guess what? You have to do some running so that you can build some aerobic conditioning and your heart can get stronger. I'm not expecting for everyone to be the perfect runner, but I am expecting for you to give me max effort. I'm not expecting everyone to be the most perfect jump roper. But guess what? If we need to jump rope, I need you to give me effort to try to get better, right? Do the exercise. So it matters. The way we move matters. The way we approach training matters. Be there, be ready to get better. So registration is open. If your child does not want to participate, they will be asked to leave if they are going to be the one that kind of starts getting other kids distracted. They can try again the next day, but it is not the time or the place for that. Okay, so if they want to do it, it's Aurora aurorasports.org/registration, aurorasports.org/registration. Once they are registered, the Aurora Public Schools app, we're going to have a classroom so that we can deliver information out to you all. That way you guys can all be on the same page. It's really important. The parent, athlete, coach triad is absolutely imperative to have in place. So we've got to all work together so that our athletes can benefit in the end. Any questions, please feel free to ask me. I'm here for you. I'm here to support you. I'm here to support your athlete. I love all of the things that they're doing and the life lessons that they're learning through sports. And, this is just another avenue where they can continue collecting all those experiences that are going to help them in life down the road. Here is my email. Sarah is just s.sutherland@4rhuskies.org. Feel free to reach out to me, get your child registered. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. And I cannot wait to work with your child this summer. It's going to be really great. And then also to just watch them in their sports for years to come.